high clutch kick in the driveway. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 060, another episode on the single turbo E46 M3. And it's the episode I've been excited about. We're going to throw it on the dyno, do some tuning on the Haltech, some tuning on the turbo Lamik, and see what we can do with this car. I really want to hear that 8HP banging through the shifts with the shift cut. I think it's going to be pretty damn cool. However, this morning, Dan actually called me with a bit of excitement on his face. He hooked up the 0 to 5 volt linear potentiometer to his clutch pedal setup, and he said, dude, the Lamik knows the clutch pedal's there, and it gives you a readout on the screen. Basically, it's not configured yet, obviously, because the Lamik doesn't know the values that the sensor is putting out specifically. It doesn't know that half the pedal movement is 50% clutch. We've got to configure it on the dyno. However, you touch the pedal, and it gives you a percentage of reading that the clutch pedal is depressed, and we just watched the car move. Let me play the clip now. Now, this clip was not meant to be filmed. I just opened the camera, and this is how it worked out of the box. Oh, and I should have said, listen to how the car takes up. It legit sounds like a manual. The funniest thing is, Dan just starts driving it like a manual. He forgets that it's an automatic. It feels that good straight away. It feels like a manual clutch. It's weird. So you got 100% clutch. The foot is all the way in.
Yeah. Now it's not set properly, but here you can watch it come out.
It moves like it's got a clutch.
Yeah.
What? Will it stall?
Yeah.
That torque converter takes over.
Yeah.
So it's a clutch for a beginner. It nearly, that jerks it pretty well.
Yeah, it stalls that way. Yeah. Good way, man. My first manual.
That's wild.
I like this. This is nice. Oi.
So Dan is just using the clutch now.
That has made that heaps better. That's much nicer to drive now.
Having a clutch pedal.
Yeah. Feels like a manual. Really does.
All right, so it's nearly time to get on the dyno, which I hope I said is the main point of this video. Dan, what is the plan now that you know the clutch pedal works?
I think to begin with, I'll probably just run it, see how it is, see how the box is holding the power, play with the clutches, play with the upshifts on the dyno. If that's all good, turn the power up on the car, and then start playing with the gearbox tuning in the Lamik.
And we did mention in the very first video on this car, if you haven't seen it, click up in the corner, it's worth a watch. But how much power is this thing currently making roughly? Well, I guess we'll find out.
We will.
We don't need to tell you, we'll find out very shortly. All right, let's start.
We did, last event I went to, it was raining a lot, so I turned it all the way down. I think it was driving last at like 450 horsepower, but we'll see.
So just while Dan is getting the dyno set up to measure this car properly, I guess, I just thought I'd run through on a few things. Now, it is a stock standard N54. It's got a custom single turbo kit that Dan built to suit the E46 chassis. This manifold will not fit on an E9X or an E8X. He's running a cheap, I say it was cheap, it was a marketplace special G-Ready turbo. I can't remember the sizing, but it's a relatively small turbo. It comes on a boost nice and early. He has got the PRP coil packs, which sort of make sure that the ignition is fully covered for some high cylinder pressures. He's running a super special overseas intake manifold, which is a forward-facing one, standard N54 throttle body. It has a intercooler from an R33 GDR. It is an aftermarket intercooler, so it's a pretty big core, and the intake air temps that he sees on this motor are always below ambient somehow. So that all works quite well. It has got a standalone fuel system, so it's just a return regulator running off boost reference, I suppose is the right way to word it, and a single Walbro 535 in the tank from memory, and it's all being controlled by a Haltech. This N54 does not have direct injection. It does not have an MSD80. It's all Haltech. Let's see what it does. It's going to make, bro. This is the wound down for the wet drift day power.
450 horsepower.
It's exactly what Buckner said. It's almost like they know how much it makes. I'll say 460, just to be a little bit different. All right, hope you can hear me all right. We're going to do the first power run. Dan is not connected to the Haltech. This is exactly how the car's running, or has been ran. He'll be getting it up in the 6th gear on the 8HP. Sounded spicy. Holy shit. 513 wheel horsepower. We were all wrong.
There you go.
Jesus Christ. It did feel good when I drove it. It did feel good. That's a lot of power in an E46. How much boost was that?
20.
So that's 20 PSI. And did you notice any issues with Lamik? No trans slip or anything like that?
Not that I could tell.
All right, guys. We got the baseline. Dan's going to get the Haltech hooked up and start playing with a few things. It's been so long since he's tuned this car. He just wants to check a few little things, and then we'll start putting the gearbox through its paces. Sounds snappy. So Dan's got the Haltech on it now. So you can just watch the air fuels and a few other things that he wanted to just make some tweaks on. He's wild. Actually, what did that make? That made 508, only revving to 6 this time. Sounds pretty good on the dyno. Sounds better than I thought it would. That was 525. That's the first run since he started tweaking. He basically said he was just going to put some more boost into it. So it should be about 22 PSI. Again, that's a lot of power. That's at the hubs as well. Oof. Sounds powerful. That's got to be enough. That's enough.
No, it's never enough.
That's enough. So Dan was starting to lean on it a little bit. How much boost was that?
22.
So still only 22 PSI. Guys that are into it would know that you make this sort of power with boost and timing. And Dan can't remember the last time he changed the spark plugs on his car. So he's just going to pull them out, throw a new set of plugs in, whilst we're leaning on it a bit more than it's been driven for lately. So it's had a quick spark plug change. Something I'll just talk about quickly. Dan has been trying different solutions with the DI injector delete. You can see he's still got the 4 in the back. And I just thought I'd show you what does happen when things go wrong with the DI delete. This is an Index 7 injector. And you may notice that it's melted the center out of it. Now this engine did have issues with the injector bore, so maybe that has sort of come into play, but he did melt an injector. He did melt a DI injector. Okay, so we are going again. Let's see if it makes any more power. Here comes the run. That was not more power. Jesus, 550, no misfires. That sounded alright.
Much better.
What happened on that first run? Is the gearbox shifting on its own?
Nah, boost cut.
Ah.
So
How much?
car was set to 23 and we hit 23.5, so it cut boost.
Doing what it's supposed to do. There you go. Dude, that's... What are you doing? You going more?
Look, it'll probably take a little bit more. I'll might just turn it up a touch more and see if it holds together.
I'm nervous. The last time we had an M54 on this dyno, it did blow up a little bit.
Yeah, but someone put a crappy head gasket in that one.
That was me. That was me. Yeah, this is an unopened, unknown engine, to be fair. It could have done 400,000 K. little bit more, another 10 horsepower. I feel that's enough. I feel that's enough power. So Dan has just calibrated the start or the bite point on the clutch, which is basically a setting in the Lamik where you set the voltage at which point it starts disengaging the clutches. I hope that makes sense. I was trying to film it, but it's just quite loud on the dyno. Anyway, he reckons he's got the clutch set up better. Let's see if we can make it shift a bit better. The other thing we do need to do, because this isn't getting reported torque from the Haltech, we need to try and match the torque values in the Lamik to the dyno. Okay, so Dan's been playing with some settings. You've got it set up now so it's not auto downshifting and it'll do what you need a drift box to do.
Yeah.
So you're in 3rd gear at the moment. Could you, I know I'm annoying him. Could you do that again? I just want to film the rear wheels so they can see the wheels are locking up. So he's basically testing the drift handbrake. Yeah, so what he's doing, he's dipping the clutch, pulling the handbrake, and it's keeping it in the correct gear to maintain the vehicle speed once he lets the clutch out. That's friggin' cool. So Dan's just gonna run it through the gears under full load. No torque reduction at this point. Holy shit, that's wild. Holy shit, that sounds wild, dude. What was wheel speed then?
It went like 260, 270.
Okay.
That's pretty good. Look at the gear changes. No drop in power.
Just maintains power through the shift.
Yeah.
So that means there's definitely no slipping of the clutches.
Yeah. Really good.
No torque reduction from the engine. That's pretty cool that these gearboxes will do that.
And it made 1,300 newton meters in 3rd gear.
That's a little bit more than it's supposed to.
Be right.
That was a limiter check. Needed to make sure it was going to bounce off the limiter. Don't forget, this is a drift car.
That works. Good. Alright.
Dude, it sounds wild.
I think it's done here. Ready to go street test the clutch, I guess, and then hopefully track test it somewhere.
So I've just had the debrief from Dan. I think that's where we're going to leave it for now. So we don't have shift cut, which I kind of wanted because it just looks good on video. It's probably not needed at this power level. In fact, we need to check how much torque it is actually making. I will check with Dan, and I'll either add it in or I'll type it just below. But basically, the Lamik, the 8HP 70 will hold 700 Newton meters without needing torque reduction. So as long as we're under 700 Newton meters, it should be safe to run it without a shift cut. I just want the noise. Now, the reason we haven't got the shift cut working, the Lamik emulates a Haltech I/O expander, which is something that works on the Haltech CAN bus, and then it just gives the Haltech, I can't remember exactly, but like 8 or 12 digital or analog signals through the CAN bus box. So we want to use one of those inputs from the Lamik fake I/O expander box to activate the torque reduction, and also send a bit of information to the Haltech, like gear position and a few little bits of data that Dan might want to display on his Haltech gauge just in the vent. But for now, he's really happy with it. It does everything he needs it to do as a drift car. As long as it's not going to damage the box without torque reduction, we should be pretty good to go at this point in time. He's wound the power back down, it hits the limiter. It's getting there, but we do need to go and take it for a drive and just make sure the clutch feels normal at speed, does what it needs to do. So in the next video, you might see some testing. We'll see how we go. But thank you all for watching. This thing's coming together. I'm happy. I'm happy it's working. Do you want to try a clutch kick in the driveway?
Not really? Somebody's going to take it off me.
We closed the driveway from public access.
That's true.
at least it happened now, not at the track. That's the YouTube curse.